patterns are. I have stencils also available for you, but we're just going to use this size. Remember, it's going to be a small trinket bowl. So it's going to be a 2-stage process. Everybody should have their chops done. If you were absent, I have them in the box in there. And I have the clay prepped, so you're all going to get your clay. Remember to wedge all the bubbles out. Just slowly rock it and rotate. And if you need my help, I can help you. But the whole idea is that you get in the habit of doing this every time you work with the clay. If you need more clay, I'll always give it to you. And after you get it wedged, we're going to get it in a ball. You can even slightly roll it up if you want to. I have various different, we don't have a slab roller, so I have various different cardboard pieces, dowels, and then these rulers are great because this will help us get an even thickness. Okay, so we're gonna lay these on parallel to each other, put the clay in the middle, take the rolling pin, and you're gonna want to rock it in one direction and then turn the clay, rock it in the other direction. You can kind of move these back together, but not too close. You wanna give it some room. And then you can use the handle or the middle. I think it's easier to use the middle part. And we're going to try and get it as even as possible. And we're always kind of rotating the clay so we can get it as even as possible as well. And it's not just one skinny length in the middle. If you see any air bubbles, and I have my needle tool out here, bless you.
Thank you.
You can just gently pop that. There's a little tiny one that I accidentally got, but that's fine. So the next step is you want to get these scrapers, and please leave these scrapers in here. Don't take them out with you. If anybody has any old credit cards or gift cards they want to bring in to use, that's great. And so after we get our slab rolled, put this out of the way, you're going to take one of the scrapers, flat side down, not the curved, and we're going to gently, this is called basically getting our surface of our slab stronger. This kind of also makes it smoother, and I want to then gently flip it over on the other side, and I want to do the same thing. You can see it picked up the texture of the table, and I want to avoid that. Okay, so we're trying to work on getting, again, that surface tightened up. So the next step, I have many different pattern makers that you can use. I'm going to put the pattern maker on one side so you can kind of see what the different materials will get you. I have different fabrics and objects that you can also use, and then you also have your chops. So I'm going to show you what each one does, as well as this one. So the first one, if you use one of these pattern sheets, you would lay it on top, and then you're going to gently roll this over it. Same thing with fabric. Just going to gently roll, not pushing down. These rollers also work in a similar way, but you want to make sure you push down, and it's going to give you that cool texture. And then you can also use your signature chops to make a pattern or a texture if you want, or sign it. Then you just lift these off, and it gives you the relief print. Sometimes it can stick if the clay is wet. It's no big deal, that's the edge. So I have canola spray because you can spray it. But our surface is not that large, so you can kind of move it around. If you don't like what you have, you can redo it and then recut it. And so once you get the area that you like, you're gonna take, I have this knife, or you can use a needle tool. The most important thing when you're cutting, you don't have to push down very hard. The clay is very soft. So I'm just gonna, some people like to just cut till you get to that stencil. Just gently, I'm not pushing down, it's gently holding in place. And then I'm just going to trace around my stencil. Alrighty, so I got my, oh, I didn't go all the way down. So now I have my texturized stencil, and then I have these pre-made bowls. This is called slump molding. So basically what that means is that we're gonna get the form by draping it over. You can also put them inside, but this time we're gonna drape. So turn it over gently, don't push down, but you wanna find the middle, and then with your other hand, pick it up. And then don't push down hard, just be gentle. Help it kind of go down over that cup. Okay? And then we're gonna let it dry and get a little bit leather hard overnight. And then you're gonna come back in and you can clean up the edges. And so to clean up the edges, like what I did here, I have, can somebody, I put it up there on the counter, that vegetable peeler. These work really well. You can take the vegetable peeler once it's dry, and you can basically trim the edges and get it all nice and smooth, and then take your finger and water or the sponge and get that nice and clean. I recommend using the banding wheels. This one's kind of solid, but you can use the banding wheel to help turn if you need to. But this is a really easy way to, it's wet right now, but once it's dry, these are really nice because it'll actually trim it right up evenly, okay? So everybody has their design. Remember, if you wanted, if some of you had a different design that wasn't a circle. So if, for example, you had a hand, you're going to draw your pattern maker. So let's pretend like this is a hand. And we can just redo that one. So I know you guys saw in the example, some people had done hands in the past. And you would just make a hand shape. You can actually cut your sketch out and then put that on top of the clay and use that as a guide, or you can free form it. And I'll show you how that works. So I'm gonna cut these off. Your pointer finger is lower than your, just trying to show how to do these. Alrighty, I think pinky needs to be smaller. So to do the hand, whatever shape you want, you would then put it on the cup again and again. That's how they got that hand shape. You can move the fingers any way you want if you want to change the fingers, but that's how they, in the other slides that you saw, how they made the hands. Okay, so if you want the texture on top, you're just going to do it the opposite way. You're going to bend it down so the texture's on the bottom. And then that way, it'll be like that. Okay? Everybody understand? Any questions? Alrighty.